including access to more experienced business owners. And one of the things that small business owners need now more than anything is help dealing with the mental issues of both simultaneously starting a business and surviving COVID. So what we're going to do is we're going to have everybody put your name, your contact information, and your business association into the chat. We got a lot of questions for Laurel, so we want to reserve as much time as possible for her to answer questions. So I would like to introduce you to Dr. Laurel Kramer. Laurel Kramer is a clinical psychologist with St. Mary's Health Center here in Jefferson City. We've been friends for quite a while now, and I like her even though she's a soft scientist, because I am a hard scientist. Hard scientists are better than soft scientists. Really, we are. She's going to tell you differently. Don't believe her. Okay? So, Laurel, I'm going to let you take it over.
All right. Thank you. And thank you all for giving me time to chat about the current environment that changes every week. I wanted to tell you that the way I'm going to organize this so everybody gets like the main points and can leave if they need to, is I'll open with some thoughts, and then we'll go through the questions, and then about 9:15, I'm going to do a 3-minute stress buster, experiential kind of thing, soft science stuff, and that will help you kind of figure out taking pieces of that to help you through your day. So,
Laurel, I'm going to interrupt. There's one.
I'm sorry.
There's one thing I didn't say. Yes. If you are not speaking, please mute yourself.
Okay.
But not you, Laurel.
Okay. And Linda, if you come up, I like to give presentations in person, so obviously this is different. So Linda's going to be my person. If you have a question as I talk, she's gonna let me know on the chat, because I just do Zoom. I'm not really good with these multimedia chat going back and forth. So so if you have a question, just throw it on the chat and Linda will let me know, and it may be something that I'm covering, and it may be something that will be new but will be helpful. So by 9:20, those of you that need to leave for your day will have had the main points, and those that want to stay for another 10 minutes till 9:30, because I understand the meeting goes till then, you certainly are welcome to, and I will answer whatever questions you have at that time. So I've been in practice over 35 years. I'm a counseling psychologist, which is a little bit different than a clinical psychologist, because I look at what strengths are and then work with people to really highlight those. We both psychologists do the same kind of practice, we just come at it from a little different. So I've worked with businesses a lot, with management issues, industrial organizational things. So I think talking with you all about the stresses currently in your environment from a small business will be helpful, hopefully for you. So we've been living with COVID now about 5+ months, and some of you are working from home, some of you have been in work. I've been in the workplace the whole time, Zooming, not Zooming. And so Linda and I were joking about how to start this, and I know everyone's business on top, and how many of you have a fun bottom on? I'm not going to ask you to stand up, but it is a more relaxed atmosphere these days. But having said that, I was talking with a friend yesterday who runs a small business, just herself, but she has outside customers who come and go. And she actually is a hairdresser in a small place. She wears a mask for some customers and tries to wear it most of the time, just out of her self-respect and customers' respect, so she doesn't have to go back and forth. And she asks those who don't believe in masks, because she feels it's become a big political issue, just to respect her situation and her needs. And so far they've been pretty good, she said. She has 3 young children, 13 and under, who attend public school. And I asked her this week how she feels about them going back to school. She's in her mid-30s. And I think it's interesting as you talk with people in small businesses, they're trying to run their business, they're trying to run their families, they're trying to deal with all the new healthcare issues that are coming out. And she said, you know what? My kids are going to go back to school. They need to go back to school. I'm not going to, worry about the masks for them. We'll deal with what comes. And because in a way, she's recognizing that COVID is here to stay. Or if it's not going to be COVID in the future, there may be new pandemics that come up. So we all have to remain flexible as in this new normal of watching for facts on the news, and then figuring out how it impacts us personally and professionally. Now, it's interesting, my friend's husband also works in a customer setting. He has had 2-3 coworkers exposed to COVID. They tested positive. He works close by, and this has happened since March. I think in April, he came down with symptoms. His physician refused to get him tested. I don't know why. I'm not blaming the physician, but I've heard this from other people that the physicians, oh no, you don't need to get tested, just take care of yourself. And that may be a political decision too, I don't know. But he was exposed, he got symptoms, he stayed home until he felt better, and he went back to work because he doesn't have sick time, much like all of us, so he was losing money. The kids also got sick in April, and they recovered also. So my friend actually has had the whole range of healthcare situations and work care situations to deal with. And yet when I talked to her this week, she's just moving forward. She's just rolling with it as best she can and moving forward. And her belief, she said, is that, this mask, no mask, this school issue, this, that, there are real concerns. So you have to take some steps to be mindful of what your particular situation is. But she also said it's become so political, it just really frustrates her. So, it's important to sort out for yourselves in your own businesses where those lines are. And if you're in a business that is more politically focused, you have to be mindful in some ways, different than somebody who is just trying to do their trade, whether that's hairdressing or psychology or statistics like Linda does, or organizing like Laura Forbes does. I know Laura, so I know she goes into people's homes, and that's a whole nother level of concern for her. But my friend is really frustrated trying to find consistent facts to follow, because you're on Facebook, you're on social media, you're on LinkedIn, you watch the news, you read the newspapers, you hear the governor, it's all over the place. So one thing to think about is choose your few places and go to those where you're going to get actual, accurate health care and business facts at the same time. My husband watches CNBC every morning because he does day trading on the side, and he works from home, so he can do that. But it's interesting, for 3 months until the end of May, he wouldn't wear a mask out. Oh no, it's fine, it's fine. Well, lo and behold, somebody on CNBC, one of the talking heads, finally talked about wearing masks, and he started wearing the mask. So I'm like, thank you. But the point is, we all have to figure out who Dr. Fauci is, whether you believe him or not. He is accurate, he is consistent, he knows the science. And Linda and I joke about hard science and soft science, but hard science has the facts about bacteria and viruses and about the spread and things like that, and what's safe and not safe. And I know there's new information coming out, oh, these masks don't help, but you have to be logical also. So they're covering your face, it has to help a little bit, whether you're spreading it or receiving it. So you know, you have to use your own head with that. But so it's important to get the facts. But here's the other thing. She's stressed. She was talking this week about being really, really anxious, just having this underlying anxiety because she hadn't had a chance to exercise. And she likes to jog and run many miles, like a 9-mile run is a good run for her. And she uses that on a daily basis or when she can to just run away from all the worries. So when she comes back home, she's sort of de-stressed. And when I talked to her earlier this week, she hadn't had a chance to run in a few days because they'd just gotten back from a vacation and, you know, lots of stuff with the family. But exercise is one of her stress busters. And it's important that you also recognize for yourself, what are my stress busters? What are the go-to things that I know for me? So for example, I work in an office setting, hour on and hour off. I see people or I do telehealth appointments, and I have an hour break at lunchtime, 12 to 1 every day. Sometimes I have meetings, sometimes I stay in the office and eat with staff, but most of the time I know myself, I have to get out of the building, get in my car and go somewhere. Not necessarily to a restaurant. I only live a short distance from work, so I can go home. But on the days that I don't get out of the office and take that mind break from where I am all day, I am more stressed by 2 or 3 o'clock, and I don't think I'm as effective for my patients. So for me, I know I need to get out of the office. I need to get outside and just completely disconnect from that. And some of you, whether you're working from home or in business or in a business setting, leave your workplace, set up specific times to take a break, to get outside, to run a short errand, not a complicated one, but give yourself some times to get out of where you are, because it really can make a difference in how you manage your stress during the day. Okay, so everyone is living with this situation differently. And we're all trying to take care of ourselves. And actually, you all at this point are probably becoming experts in flexing your business, in flexing your daily lives. And even though you're working 24/7, because when you own a business, that's what you do, and you don't have time off, and you don't get paid vacation, you don't get paid sick time. It reminds me of when I was in grad school. Linda and I joke about getting our doctorate, and for 3 to 5 years, you're kind of doing your own business, and you're eating and breathing and thinking it all the time. But it's equally important to take breaks when you need to, mind breaks and breaks. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So the questions that you all sent me, I really appreciate, and thank you for doing that. They're similar to ones I hear every day. So I want you all to know, one, and Linda will laugh at this, you are all normal, okay? All your worries, all your concerns, all your stresses, you are all normal. I worry about this, everybody worries about this. And I think we get confused because we think, oh, I'm the only one that's afraid to go back to work. Or I'm the only one who doesn't want to go to this chamber event because there's going to be 150 people crammed into a small room. Or I'm the only one wearing a mask. I'm going to look stupid. It feels like junior high again. But realistically, everybody is feeling these things to some degree. And if they tell you they're not, they're lying. So I just want you to know you're all normal. And Linda, you are too. Unfortunately, you are too. So I had to laugh when I looked at your questions because Linda and I talked about them this week, and she goes, so how would you answer, this and this and this? And I laughed and I said, the classic psychology response for anything is, well, it all depends. Because it all depends on your specific situation, your specific personality, your specific business, your specific set of circumstances, any given week, and actually any given day. And as you all know, that all changes. So I'm not going to give you an "it all depends" answer, because I've kind of grouped things, and there are some basic things that you can do. And as we go through the next couple minutes, some of those answers will come for your questions, and some I'm going to talk specifically about in a minute. But Linda and I have been friends for a long time, and she trained as a hard scientist, and I trained as a soft scientist. And some of your questions are about, how do I deal with opposing views that are just completely different? And Linda and I always joke about on opposite ends of the spectrum, but here's the middle ground. I respect her hard science background so much. I call her frequently with, okay, tell me, how long does COVID stuff stay in the air in this little room that I'm in, and what do I need to do, and how does it work? Or I'll call her with a pharmacology question for the details that I don't understand specifically, so I can better help my patients and myself often. She also, and Lynn, I'm going to out you on this, calls me for soft science questions. How do I deal with crazy family members? How do I deal with stressors in the workplace? You know, those kinds of things. And recently she sent me an article on toxic positivity, because we send each other fun articles about each other's, you know, hard science, soft science stuff. And so I thought it was a very interesting article to bring up today, and she can share the full article with all of you if you want her to. But it's written at this time, 5.5 months into our COVID pandemic. Because, you know, in the first few months, everyone was really positive, kindness, let's care about each other, you know, the sun will come out tomorrow kind of routine. And, you know, when you're in a crisis moment, as we were 4 months ago, 3 months ago, that kind of thinking is really necessary. And it's necessary to rally our, you know, our troops, so to speak, kind of get us focused on, okay, we've got this big battle going, we've got to believe the best, and let's move forward. But as this wears on, and now as this is becoming the new normal, that kind of positivity is wearing thin, because it's like putting on rose-colored glasses, and we all know at our age and stages of life, there's no, you can't do that. And you're doing yourself a disservice if you continue to see all that positive stuff. And I know many of you are on social media because, one, you have to be, two, because you want to be, but there's a lot of toxic positivity on social media that some you're aware of, some you're not aware of. So the happy, dappy, everything, don't look at the dark side of things, isn't helpful now. And that can leave you feeling, well, what's wrong with me? Because I'm feeling more stressed, more depressed, sad, worried, concerned. What's wrong with me? Angry, even frustrated. But also, all that stuff you see on social media and LinkedIn and other social media sites that you're on, it's all edited. Nobody puts their dirty laundry out on that. So it can leave you feeling more isolated and more negative and thinking, oh, my business is worse. I can't go on. I'm not going to be able to do this. And so, you know, you have to learn that the positive side is important. Being grateful for what's going on this week. Oh, I still have a business, or I'm getting more funds in, or I found this other connection via some other link online that's building my business. I'm getting new customers and the old ones are starting to come back. It's not as fast as I'd like. So you're being grateful for some things. That's good. That's not toxic, but it's positive, and it actually releases those good feeling chemicals in your body called endorphins when we're grateful. So finding something grateful every day about your life, like I got my health, I still can pay my bills, I can still, you know, I may have to close my office and move things home, but I still got my business. So doing gratitude every day is important. That also means that it's important to recognize there are other feelings, other complex feelings that you are experiencing. And so getting together with a group like this where you network, whether that's online or via email or in person, is really important because you're all dealing with similar stressors. This isn't a time to be competitive. This isn't with each other right now. This isn't a time to one-up anybody on, oh yeah, everything's great in my business. This is a time to say, yes, it's difficult and I'm still moving forward. It's slower than I wanted to grow it, but I'm still moving forward. Those are really important thoughts because it balances that inside of you and gives both sides, the negative feelings and the positive ones, a voice. Because if you stuff those negative ones in and you push it aside with that toxic positivity and everything's fine in the rose-colored glasses, it's like a pressure cooker. You squeeze the lid down, the pressure builds, you get sick, you get panic attacks, you get depressed, you make bad decisions, and you don't even know what's fueling that. Well, it's because you ratcheted down all those negative emotions in that pot. So if you need to clean it out, talk to somebody, talk to a professional, talk to somebody you trust and who can understand. And that will help begin to balance that out. And then you may learn some other skills if you need to. But I think you guys have a lot of those skills already. The other thing toxic positivity does is when you ignore those more complex feelings of sadness and loneliness and fear, we're all afraid. I'm afraid. I know I'm employed. I have owned my own business before. I am grateful for my job every day. I also know SSM is for sale. I also know behavioral health isn't like the money maker of the organization. So if SSM gets sold, I may be out of a job and have to then find ways for myself. So every week I am so grateful that I have this job, and you make the best of it. But when I don't tend to hear the fear for me sometimes, it downplays the legitimate worries that we all have. So in sharing some of your negative feelings, you're also helping somebody else feel normal, okay? So sharing is important. Okay, any questions so far? Not seeing any. I'm not sure how you're gonna let me know.
We haven't gotten any questions.
My phone.
If you're not on the chat, you can open the chat along the bottom bar. There's a little box that'll say chat. For example, Tom Trabeau posted a comment that's really important on the chat. So you might open the chat and follow along.
Tom did. A regular exercise of gratitude is so incredibly important. Right on. Oprah was right. 3 things of gratitude every night is important. Okay, so let's talk about these questions. There were, I think Chris sent out the list, and I added a 10th one about the pressure to return to your workplace, even though you have real health worries of possibly being exposed to COVID for a variety of reasons. You may be a single parent and have young children. Who takes care of those kids? Because you don't have extended family here if you get sick. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of factors going on in the workplace. All right, so the first 2, I'm going to answer together. How do I manage family members, friends, and others that get anxious about the COVID so that I can maintain my sanity and run my business? And also how to handle others that disagree with you, whether that's how you're running your business, how you're limiting your business. I'm assuming that was about COVID and getting into arguments about that. Does anybody have any thoughts they want to add to that particular one? Okay, so here's a way to do this. When you come up against people in your family or people that you work around that are really, for lack of a better term, driving you crazy with their anxiety, and you're sort of catching it, because anxiety can be catching. You're around somebody who's anxious and worried and you start, even though you know the facts yourself, you can't help but sort of catch the train. and it gets you going, it gets your adrenaline going, and then your stress is higher. And so here's something to talk to about for those kind of people. You know, maybe say to them something like, look, I understand that you are really worried about a number of these things, but here's the facts that I know, and give them whatever health facts are the most current and appropriate for what their worries are, because you know them, and those facts are going to be a handful, 3 to 5, pretty much week to week, and say, so we need to work now, or I need to work now. Can we focus on this for the next couple hours? And that may help that person who's over anxious just really calm down, because you're giving them some leadership. Okay, it's sort of like when you have your 2 or 3-year-old child at home, and they're kind of flailing and don't know what to do and don't know what to do. It's because they may have too many choices, but realistically, as the parent, what do? You channel that. You contain it a little, and that helps them settle down. And this is the same kind of thing, because we're all kids inside. Our emotions are childlike. So energy vampires, that's a great that's a great term. So I have a bird clock in here that lets me know the time and that the session's over, from my mother. So I have my mother in my office telling me what to do, if you wondered what that sound was. So anyway, so that's one way to do that. Another way is, you know, set limits in your own mind about, okay, I'll listen to this person for 5 minutes, or I know I'm going to walk into this workplace or into this business or into this event, and I'm going to get a lot of people coming up. Shut up, Linda. I have a lot of people coming up to me and getting me all, you know, asking me how my business is and how this is and how that is. And today wasn't a great week. I don't want to talk about it, okay? Or I don't want to deal with this person's anxiety or this person's Debbie Downer or whatever it is that you don't want to deal with. So you set your limit in your own mind of where you are for the day and what you want to deal with and how much or none at all. And then think of one sentence that you can say to everybody that comes up with in that category of negative thinking, okay? So it could be something like, you know, I understand that you know, that things are difficult this week, and I've really got to get things taken care of here before I move on with the meeting. Or, yes, yeah, it's been a difficult week. Thank you for your prayers. You know, if you have a belief, or like if you go to church and that kind of thing happens. Or, you know what, I've got a deadline on something and I've got to get that done, and I'd like to talk to you tomorrow. How about tomorrow? Because in 24 hours, 1, their energy is going to change. 2, if you've got a deadline, it's an easy out for you, okay? And then you don't have to think of a phrase every single time. So think of one phrase that you can use in a variety of situations, and you pull that card up in your head and use that every time. And you're not putting people off, you're just setting a limit in a respectful way. Okay, so the best way to respond to advice and opinions from others that are different from you, that disagree with you. This phrase is important to remember. I understand that you and I have different views on this, and today I need to focus on work, or I need to focus on the speaker, or, you know, so you're giving some respect. Hey, I know that you and I are different in this. I know that we believe differently. I'm doing, you know, you're doing it your way, I'm doing it my way. Can we just agree to respect each other? And now let's focus on the meeting at hand, or something like that. That would be really helpful. And then you're giving respect, but you're not getting into an argument. So you're not ignoring, you're not walking away. Now, the other person may still want to argue, and you can just honestly put your hand up respectfully and say, you know what, I'd love to talk about this another time. Today isn't a good day. I've got a million things. Or if it's a spouse or husband, I think that's further down the list, dealing respectfully with other people's strong feelings that are opposite from me. You know, just saying, look, I really need to focus on this right now, but if you want to talk about this, let's set a different time aside. And if you put a hand up again, it's a little extra barrier. So that can be helpful, and then you're not arguing. You can also say, I don't want to argue with you. We're on the same side. We're in a business together. Or I don't want to argue with you. We live together if it's your spouse. You know, I love you. We just are opposite politics, honey. So for now, you know, could you not watch CNN or Fox News or whatever it is that you can't tolerate at home? Could you watch that at a different time than when I'm, you know, making dinner or in the room with you? Can we agree on that? And set some limits for that kind of thing, because that can be pretty toxic also. Number 3, what can I do to relieve stress about life and COVID? Simple things to do during the day. We're going to talk about that at the end, so I'm going to move that along. But backing up, Chris says, some people live to argue. Yes, they do. That's their communication style. Yes, it is. With those people, they can be toxic for a lot of people. You can still calm the beast in them by just saying, you know what, we're here for a family dinner. I'd really like not to talk about politics or the COVID illness. I deal with it all week. How about them Cardinals? You know, just change the subject. And if there's other people around, they're going to want to not talk about it either, because they're tired of all the arguing too. So, you know, change the subject and just move on. And that person may get pouty, but hopefully they'll come around and join the conversation. But they're really being disrespectful of everybody, including themselves, by pushing their agenda like that. Okay. Dealing with the transition, working from home to the office again. So I don't know how many of you are doing that. Many of you may have home offices, I'm sure you do, and then you may have to go into a workplace, a larger setting, or you have to go into a workplace setting, whether that's going to other businesses or their homes, like I know Laura Forbes does. Sorry, Laura Forbes Sinclair. But so the transition can be hard, because one is, if you're used to working at home, and I know Linda's been working from home for months, and she lives in her pajamas all day. I'm kidding, Linda, but well, you might. So, but everybody has been more relaxed, okay? Everybody has been dressing down because we can. We can work from home. We can put on a jacket to Zoom. And then all of a sudden, and you may not be wearing a lot of makeup, women or men at home, but realistically, getting out in the community again, going into a workplace requires your old set of thinking, not just, okay, I'm just going to kind of do my work and do it on my own time. You now have to sort of ramp it back up, okay? And it does require a little bit more energy, and it does require a little more intention on your part to set yourself for the day out of your house or your day at business meetings, because you're going to be out longer. So you're going to have to focus again longer with your professional head on longer. And you're not going to be able to just relax between appointments and, you know, lollygag or whatever. So you're going to be more tired. So that transition, be mindful of that. Get more rest. When you're tired, don't down yourself. Just go, okay, I know I was out 3 days this week and 2 days I was at home. I didn't realize how much effort it is to get my public face on to be out all the time. I mean, we all do that, but it does require a different kind of internal energy, and it does make you tired. So be mindful, get to bed a little earlier. Do some more of your favorite things in the evening. Know that maybe chunk your week so that 3 days you're out in a row. So the other 2 days you can relax a little bit more. So it's not on, off, on, off, on, off, because those transitions are difficult. Okay. Wear real shoes, yeah. Okay, managing feelings of the in-between, feeling guilty about everything. What you do, what you don't do, what you choose, what you don't choose. I thought this was an interesting question because guilt is, it's an important emotion when we've done something wrong. It's a drain on your emotional state when it's chronic. And you haven't done anything wrong. You're just making different choices day to day. So, it's important to think, okay, if I've done something wrong by not going out today or not buying from the local person, or, I went on Amazon and bought the books instead of going to Downtown Book and Toy, or, whatever that is, let that go. Try to be mindful about, look, I made this choice for a specific reason. I'm not trying to not support local businesses, but today, this is where I was. This is what I needed to do. I could get better products this way. I don't have a lot of extra energy this week to go running around to the local businesses, ordering this, picking up this, whatever it is. So I dovetailed it to take care of me. That's okay. Don't feel guilty about taking care of you and your energy drain. Remember, we're all normal. We're all making these decisions, okay? You're not different from anybody else. It's wonderful that we're all mindful about shopping locally. I know my husband and I are not really ready to go out to the restaurants yet and sit outside or inside. But we are mindful about when we choose to do takeout, we try to choose small businesses, not the chains, because we want to support those people. We don't always do that, but we try to be mindful about that. But, you have to know where your comfort zone is, okay? And some weeks are going to be different than other weeks, depending upon how much is spread, how much is not spread. So, in terms of the COVID. So I really, we haven't met with friends in a long time, 5 months. We used to have a monthly group of friends that we would get together at different houses and have supper together. And we haven't done that. So occasionally we'll drop off vegetables at each other's houses and wave through the window, or we'll talk at a distance, or we'll talk by phone. But lately, one of the couples is really feeling hemmed in. So we're going to do a driveway cocktail hour in their garage. So, it's an hour. It's not a whole evening, but at least there's some social interaction. And this weekend, it works. Other weekends, it wouldn't, because there are a lot of other things in our lives just coping with the changes from week to week to week. So taking care of yourself is as important as it is, reaching out to others, okay? If you take care of you, you can help others. Take care of you first. Put on that face mask in the airplane first. There's a reason for that. And I realize we're almost out of time. Okay, so I will answer a question that came in privately at the end. Responding to my work partner's spouse who are on opposite sides of the fence dealing with COVID. That's similar to acknowledge the opposite view and then try to move forward. Look, I know we're both tired of being inside. Let's do something different. My husband, I made him go out with me last night to look for the Neowise comet. So we did. He usually goes to bed at 9 because he gets up at 3 for his job now. And I made him do that the other 5 days ago when it wasn't cloudy. We didn't see it, and he wasn't very happy. But he went last night and actually enjoyed himself. And it was a spontaneous kind of moment that we could share together. And I kind of joked, okay, in 8,000 years when it comes back and we've reincarnated and are back on Earth, maybe we'll be together and we'll remember this moment, you know. And so doing little things like that can be helpful. Okay, different ways introverts and extroverts are managing the transition and moving out into the world. That's the big one. Introverts love it up to a point. They loved it for the first 2 months. Then introverts started feeling antsy because they couldn't come and go as they wanted to. They were scared to go out. They liked the alone time, but it was too alone. So they had to find a new normal. Extroverts really had a hard time, and they're having a hard time because extroverts thrive on talking to people, meeting people. That's how they kind of get their stuff. And it's been very difficult for them. For extroverts that live alone, I may come into the office so they got out at least once a week during when we were sheltering in place because they needed that support. Now it's a little bit different. You can get out, you can do errands, you can go to the grocery store. You may need to be more careful if you are a mask wearer person, but you can still do some of the normal interactions, so it's easing up a bit. Linda, is there any other question about the introvert extrovert you wanted me to cover for that? Because I know that was one of yours.
Not really, and I don't see any questions regarding it in the chat either. So
okay. So pressure to show up physically to larger business events because of personal health concerns or your own fears and still grow your business. This is becoming a bigger one because there are more and more now events like with the chamber or with the community where you guys advertise, where you network, where you do these things. And how to balance that out. If you don't show up, are people not going to remember you because you're a small business? If you do show up and it's in a smaller room than you're comfortable with 150 people and nobody's wearing masks, what do you do? So my advice with that is this. Again, it all depends. And you have to take your own pulse about how comfortable am I being in a large room of people with the current facts that I'm aware of. And maybe you do go and you wear a mask and you risk other people looking at you from the political spectrum that is different from yours. What's wrong with you? Why are you wearing your mask? And you can say, you know what? I have health concerns. Whether you do or not, it doesn't matter. They don't need to know those personal details. Do what is best for you. Or I mentioned to Linda, we got giggling about this on the weekend, that take somebody a cardboard, make Linda into a cardboard stick and carry her around. Because if you're going, you can take 3 other sticks of people that cannot go because of their health concerns. So they're present, but not there. And it will bring attention to your office. So you can get creative with that. But, maybe pick and choose which ones you go to also. You can't go to all of them. Nobody's going to all, well, some people are, but not everybody. Okay, I'm aware that my time is 9:15. Let me run through a summary of what I've said, and then we'll do the quick stress buster. So, know yourself first. Figure out what you need to get through your day and do more of those, like take a break at lunch. 2, limit watching news feeds that are not necessary for you and that just add to the noise in your head and life. 3, decrease your social media minutes. A lot of us get online and go through, just kind of mindlessly. Get off, read a book. That'll be the best thing. Or if you're an extrovert, talk to people on Zoom. Go for a walk. The Japanese have a word for forest baths. It's getting out in nature. Get outside. I know it's hot, but if you just kind of get out and just sit down and enjoy the bird sounds in the morning or at the end of the day, it can do wonders for your stress. Be aware of the mind-body connection for your physical and mental health. Meditate, do these 1 minute deep breathing exercises, you know, where you just sort of breathe in and breathe out, and do that 3 times, and close your eyes and go to your favorite place in your brain. That's really helpful. You can do that throughout the day or at red lights if you're driving around. Exercise is really helpful. Walking is really helpful. Limit toxic positivity, which we talked about. Also, focus on a week at a time. I know as business owners, you all are thinking long-term planning. You have to think about the 1 year out, the 6 months out, the 3 months out. But in our current situation with the fluidity of the facts and your personal businesses, you can't really think 6 months out or a year out. You have to pull that timeline back and try to be more flexible with, okay, this week and this month, how can I expand my business? Where do I need to go? Who do I need to network with? The serenity prayer is very helpful. You know, change the things you can, let go of the things you can't, decrease your guilt. Stop catastrophizing. That's that fear, the what ifs that go, oh my God, what if 6 months from now I have to do the travel and nobody's here to take care of my family, or I get sick and then I'm gonna die. And stop, okay? That catastrophizing is like unnecessary guilt. It just drains your energy. And the way to stop that is to say, you know what? 99% of those things that I'm worried about don't ever happen. And you can look back the last few months and see all those things you thought were going to happen by now aren't happening. You're alive, you're well, you're doing what you need to do. So try to just focus on the realistic ones and push the other ones out. The gratitude. Now, the final one is laughing, okay? That is really, really, really important. Laugh as often as possible. Watch comics on TV, you know, Netflix or Prime Video. Laugh with others. Iceland, some of you may know this story. I saw last weekend. Iceland has put out an app or a connection that people can log in and hear people screaming, because they've decided as a nation that so many people are isolated and ready to scream out of frustration that they're helping you do that. Listening to somebody scream may be an emotional release for you. If you need to scream, go in your basement, go in your bathroom, go in your car, wherever it is where nobody's going to call the police on you because they think you're, you know, killing somebody, and scream. Punch a bag, okay? Get one of those beanbag chairs and punch it and kick it when you just need to get rid of that frustration, or you're so angry with whatever is going on around you that you can't change. That physical release can be really helpful for you physically and psychologically. And network with each other, just like you're doing today. You all are wonderfully competitive, high-achieving people, or you wouldn't be doing the businesses you are. You already have those skills for resilience. You already know what it's like to fight to survive, whether that's business or in life, or you wouldn't have done this kind of business. You would be a state employee going every day and not at the top, but you know, somewhere in the middle and lower ranks, and you wouldn't have done this. So you are already using skills that are going to be helpful to sustain yourselves through this. So try to remember that you've got it in here. You just kind of have to uncover it every so often. Okay, so let's do a quick stress buster. Okay, close your eyes if you can, or you can keep your eyes open if you want to. And just for a few minutes, we're not going to do it for a minute because we're out of time, but Breathe in through your nose slowly and fill your lungs, not the belly breathing, but just fill your lungs as much as you can. And then when you blow that air out through your mouth, purse your lips like you're kissing somebody or blowing a balloon. And then breathe in through your nose again, and then blow that out through your mouth, pursing your lips. And then take a moment in this state and think of your most favorite place where you love to go. I have a beach that I grew up on that I go to. It may be your bed. It could be a grandparent's house. It can be something that you love, probably maybe from childhood, maybe not. And just take a moment while you're breathing and notice all the details of this favorite place if you can. What it looks like, what the sounds are happening around you in this place, what the smells are that you remember that are your favorite things, and how this place makes you feel. Hopefully it's positive and relaxed. And then take a moment in this wonderful place and just feel a waterfall of this golden light just pouring over you. And when you feel it's pouring over you and really sinking in to your body, breathe in this light and see it really center on the inside of you, in your heart area, your solar plexus area. And as you breathe in this light inside you brightens and expands. And this is healing your body and mind as you do this. And it brightens and expands to fill your whole body and then bursts out of your body around you. And at that point, just wrap yourself in this wonderful golden light. So you're kind of in a golden bubble for the day. And then open your eyes and you're done. Now, you can do that longer or not. That took us 2 minutes. So I want you to know you can do that throughout the day. And as you get practice with this during the day, if you're in a business meeting, you don't necessarily have to close your eyes, or if you're feeling there's a lot of negativity around you, you can keep your eyes open and just think of that special place, do a couple breaths in and out, and it will have the same cascade of stress busting that this exercise does. The other thing is when you breathe in through your nose and purse your lips out like that, when you purse your lips, it actually releases endorphins in your brain. That's why we do that. So the oxygen in through your nose and then pursing your lips as you blow out, you're doing double duty, physically and mentally. Okay. That's it. Those of you that need to leave can leave. Those of you that want to stay can stay. Thank you.
If anyone has questions for Laurel, please, unmute yourself, put them in the chat, whatever. Anyone?
Okay, if no one does, then I may talk about this one question about handling a spouse who has been cooped up for 5.5 months, is having a hard time changing. We don't shake hands anymore. We're not supposed to hug, we're supposed to stay 6 feet apart. Who doesn't want to wear a mask, that whole thing. Or the opposite, somebody who's like obsessively careful about cleaning and being careful and driving you crazy with, look, you got to take a shower when you come in from wherever. And so either of those extremes, guys, okay? With the first one, I know I was worried about my husband not wearing his mask for those 4 months, 3 months till he heard it on CNBC that he should. And I would kind of remind him. I even had a neighbor make a male mask for him, so it was male and not flowers. And I gave it to him. He goes, yeah, and he threw it aside. And realistically, it's like trying to get your spouse to go to the doctor. As this is mostly women for men. Go to the doctor. Of course they won't. But you have to step back and respect whatever they're doing. I mean, it may drive you crazy and you may be really worried about them, but they're making their own choices. And I know you're married to them, but it's important to recognize you can't fix them. You can't save them. You can't, you know, you're going to have to deal with whatever comes if they get sick. But really, you know, what's the point of creating a lot of extra negativity between the two of you over something that you're not going to be able to change till they're ready to change it? So I would step back and just kind of take a deep breath and say, well, okay, I'm wearing my mask, and go out, because that's really all you can do. It's kind of the serenity prayer for marriages. With the opposite end of it, where they're constantly cleaning, or they're obsessing about you coming in from work or whatever meetings and not wanting you to go to meetings, even if you're being careful, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's an anxiety issue again. And sitting down and talking with them and saying, look, I've got this business to run. I am being careful. And maybe when you do come home, you do take a shower and wash the day's germs off. But, you know, just let them know, look, I have limits too. I'm not going to realistically, I'm not going to bring this home to you. But we all have to figure out how to live with this. And I love you, and we're on the same team, and I'll do what I can, but I need you to recognize you need to do for you, and I need to do for me. So again, it's setting limits kind of in a gentle way. Hope that answers that. Anything else? Comments, questions, concerns? Sherry has one. So you have to unmute you,
Sherry, are you saying thank you, or you have a question?
I was just saying bye, gotta run.
Oh,
thank you.
All right, bye.
All right, thank you all.
So I have, this is kind of a additional question. If you need more help than just talking to yourself, but say you don't have insurance that covers behavioral health services, are there resources in the community where you can go? Like I'm thinking support groups, things like that, where you can go and get some help that can kind of help you see things in a different way. But is it in a factual, substantive way, but may not be, you know, medical services?
That's a really good question. I don't know in terms of in-person groups, but what I would recommend is, I know that there's online groups for this, for anxiety and anxiety related to COVID. You'll have to do your own searches. And I'm sure there's Facebook groups, private Facebook groups that are also talking about fears and anxieties and dealing with this kind of thing, or just mental health things as a support group. In those groups, you may find your own subset of people that make sense to you and connect with, and that would be important. The other thing I would encourage you to do, if you're a member of a religious community, talking with your pastor or priest can be very helpful. They might be able to direct you to some services. You know, obviously different Columbia and Jeff City and different areas have some sliding scale places that charge a sliding scale fee, that have psychiatry, which is medication, or they may have some counselors for short term that may also be helpful. I think, you know, we don't really want to air our dirty laundry in a workplace setting like this, but even being braver and maybe talking about the business fears or how it's affecting you. Again, you know, we've all heard no question is a dumb question. And in this kind of situation and in your particular business group here, I think many of you are feeling the same that other people are. So if somebody talks about the fear of long-term business losses, or pivoting to a different way with the business, or your current business model isn't working, there's going to be other ones that are just as worried, and brainstorming together can be really, really helpful. And answer some of those fears that are bleeding into other parts of your life, and that's free too. So I would really encourage you all to be a little braver and maybe share amongst yourselves a little bit more. But also, I would really look online. And there are some online counseling services now that I think are pretty good. I know Michael Phelps is on the board of one and apparently took advantage of their services. And I don't remember the name of that online, but it's, I think they may have a sliding scale, and then you can do telehealth with a counselor, and it's not insurance based. So that's something to think about.
Does anyone else have any questions? I don't see anything in the chat and nobody's unmuting. So if not, thank you very much, Laurel, for sharing your expertise and insight with us, even though it is soft science.
Which you benefit from every day.
Yeah. Shush. So if nobody else has any questions, thank you all to all of you for coming, including the people who had to leave us because of their other questions. Next month, our meeting is, and I honestly don't have the date. It's the third Thursday of the month, right, Chris? And Tom Turbo, who was on but had to leave for a 9:15 appointment, will be our speaker. He is a business and executive coach in Columbia. So I think he probably will be talking about many of the same things that Laurel talked about, but from more of a business standpoint. So this could be a really unique combination of presentations. And then in September, we're having, his name is Brad Jones from the Federation of Small Businesses. He is the executive director of that group here in Jeff City. And he's going to talk to us about legislative and other affairs that affect small businesses. So thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you all next month too. Chris, do you have anything you'd like to say? No. Who are you and what have you done with Chris? Huh. Okay.
We're all
Thanks,
surprised.
Hi, Don. Dan. Don.
Thank you. I'm going to get off now. You guys have a good day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Laurel. Bye, everybody.
Bye.